The first topic that we are going to look at in paper F1 is recruitment and selection. So, we need to be aware of why it makes any difference who we recruit. What difference does it make to the organisation? So, first thing we're going to talk about then is why do we need to worry about it, and then we're going to talk about what the difference between these two different topics actually is. So, first of all, you can see the recruitment and the selection process. What happens if we don't have the correct staff? First of all, work will be of a poor quality. If we don't get the correct staff, they may not have the skills to actually do the work properly, so they may just perform it very poorly. So poor quality work. Why does that matter? Because obviously it will be more expensive if you have to keep fixing any problems, or you might upset your customers and you might lose their custom in the future. So they might think the products, the services are so poor, I'm not going to come back again. So you need to make sure that you recruit the right people to prevent the chance of having poor quality work. There will also be poor morale. People who are not particularly good at their jobs often don't enjoy those jobs. We will see later on during the course that this can affect their work colleagues. Now, some of you may have been in this situation yourselves, where you are with somebody who is not particularly good. They show that, everybody else perhaps is affected by that, and it ends up upsetting everybody. So if we get a poor quality worker, then not only will their own work be poor, but they could also affect other people. The third one, high staff turnover. Staff turnover simply means that people leave the organisation. High staff turnover simply means that there are a lot of them that are leaving the organisation. Why does that matter? Well, obviously, if you have people who are leaving on a regular basis, you have to replace them. That will have costs. We'll talk about those later on, because you need to recruit them, but also once you've got them, you'll need to train them. So high staff turnover, if you choose the wrong people, they will realise that they're not going to be very good at the job, and they will simply leave. And finally, sort of following on from that point, you will waste a lot of time, you will waste a lot of money recruiting more staff. And who is going to waste their time? This will often be senior management. The people who actually make the decisions about who they're going to employ. They will be interviewing people, and they'll have to waste their time, because if people leave, they've got to keep replacing them, so they have to waste their own time looking and dealing at more interviews. All the time that they are spending interviewing people, they can't be doing anything else. So recruitment and selection, it is very, very important that we get the right people. Because if we get the wrong people, they are going to affect an awful lot of things inside the organisation. Where are these people going to come from? Well, we can promote from inside the organisation. We can recruit from outside the organisation. A lot of the things that we're going to talk about in this first chapter, I will refer to us recruiting people from outside the organisation. We'll talk about things like job advertisements and things like that. But they just as easily apply to if you're recruiting from inside the organisation as well. So just be careful of that in the exam. If you're going to recruit from inside the organisation, in other words, if you're going to try and promote somebody who already works for the organisation, a lot of the issues are exactly the same. So we've got, in this particular chapter, we're going to talk about recruitment and we're going to talk about selection. It makes sense, before we go any further, to talk about what the difference is between recruitment and selection. So, recruitment is the process of establishing that vacancies exist and communicating these vacancies to an appropriate pool of candidates. All that means is, we have to work out that there is a vacancy. Talk about that a little bit later. We have to work out that there is a vacancy and let people know about it. That's the recruitment process. It is not about choosing somebody. That's the next stage. That's selection. So selection is the process of filtering candidates in order to select the individual best suited to a particular vacancy. So filtering candidates in effect means getting rid of all the ones we're not interested in until we're left with the one that we are interested in. That's the person that's going to actually get the job. So recruitment, finding out there's a vacancy, working out what that vacancy is going to be, working out what the job is going to be, letting people know about it, and then selection, choosing the right person. Now, there are various stages that we go through in this particular process. The way the examiner might ask you about this is he might, for example, mix these phrases up, mix these processes up, and ask you to put them back in the right order. So whenever we have a process, which means you start at one bit, you go through a number of stages and you end up at another bit, in the exam, look for the examiner simply mixing them up and saying, put them back in the right order. So you need to know what they are, you need to know what order they're going to go in. So first of all, first consideration is the type of job to be offered. If a job already exists, in other words, that somebody is already doing this job, for whatever reason they are going to be leaving. So we've got somebody who does this particular role at the moment. They are leaving because they are moving to another company. They are leaving because they're retiring. They're leaving because they're moving geographically inside the country. For whatever reason, they are leaving and we're going to simply replace them. The most important thing there will be to do what's called a job analysis. A job analysis is simply a list of what the tasks are. What does this person currently do? So that when we recruit, we know what we are looking for. We're looking for somebody who will be able to do those tasks. Second bullet point. Again, if the job requires getting something specific done, then a job analysis is the best place to start. So specific tasks, your job is to make sure that these things happen. For example, we have a project. You will be in charge of the project. Your job will be to make sure these tasks get done so that the project gets finished on time. Again, in those kind of circumstances, a job analysis is very useful. So a job analysis that says, this is what you must do when you are working. Here are the things we want you to achieve. Underneath that, if the role of the job is likely to change. Now that's the sort of thing that you often get in a small company. In a small company, often we're not entirely sure what we will want somebody to be doing in 10, 15, 20 years if they are still working for the company. Because obviously the role of what they are doing is going to change. Imagine that you start a company with 3 people. To start with, everybody probably has to do everything. Has to deal with customers, has to make sure the bills are paid. Everybody has to deal with everything. As the company grows from 3 people to 30, from 30 people to 300, from 300 people to 3,000, then obviously the work is also going to change. So what you may want to do is you may be more interested in getting the right kind of personality who will perhaps be able to do lots of things in the future, rather than saying, this is what we want you to do today. Now, if that's the sort of thing you're going to look for, then what's better is to do what's called a person specification. So a job analysis, here are the tasks we want you to do. A person specification, we will get the right personality and worry about what the tasks are later on. The tasks may even change quite a lot, so as long as we've got the right person, they will be able to do whatever tasks we ask them to do. So again, in the exam, the examiner might say, which of these two, person specification, job analysis, which of these two do you feel would be more appropriate in this particular case? And he'll tell you some facts about an organisation. The last couple of things we've got, if we've got a job analysis, then usually we know exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for people who've got experience, who have done those tasks before. Or perhaps we are looking for people with skills who we know will be able to do those tasks. If you look in lots of organisations, particularly down at the lower end, the more junior positions, often they are based on job analysis. So if you take this job, this is what you will have to do. These are the tasks that you will have to do, which means we can recruit people who've done them before. So job analysis, you often find those down at the lower levels of the organisation. Person specification means you look for somebody with a particular personality and worry about what they're going to do later on. You often get those at higher positions inside the organisation. It's very difficult to set out all the tasks, for example, that a finance director actually has to do, because some of the things they do will change. They will have to respond. They will have to think about what's happening in the outside world and respond to it. Our biggest rivals have just cut the prices of all of their products. Our biggest rivals have launched a new product which is taking away our sales. What are we going to do about it? Well, it's very difficult to do a job analysis under those circumstances because the tasks keep changing. So again, a person specification might be better. So the first thing to think about in the exam would be which of those will be more important, a job analysis or a person specification. It will obviously depend on what the situation is.